This is the digital channel of the General Overseas Service of All India Radio. I am Manoj Mainkar, and in the next half hour, I'll bring to you news updates from India and around the world, awareness videos on coronavirus by Government of India, and a lot more. We'll begin with the news updates.
This is the General Overseas Service of All India Radio. Namaskar. The news snippets. Read by Maria Albina Michael.
22,80,566 people have recovered from COVID-19 in the country till now. In the last 24 hours, 57,989 people have recovered. India's recovery rate is 74.9%. 8,01,147 people were tested for COVID-19 in the past 24 hours. Total tests have crossed 3,52 lakhs. Pakistan for the first time has admitted that India's most wanted terrorist, Dawood Ibrahim, is in Pakistan. He has been designated as a terrorist by the Imran Khan government under Financial Action Task Force FATF. However, Pakistan retracted its statement soon afterwards. The most wanted Indian fugitive, Dawood, reportedly has 14 passports and lives under Pakistani government's protection in a posh suburb of Karachi. Government will be investing 65,000 crore rupees in over 200 economic zones. Many ministries are working together to bring these zones under a connectivity system. The centre has asked state governments to allow free interstate and inter-district movement of people and goods as envisaged in the Union Home Ministry's Unlock 3 guidelines. Restrictions on free movement is hampering economic activities, especially the supply chain, and impacting employment, the centre said. The COVID-19 vaccine, Covishield, being developed by Pune-based Serum Institute of India in association with Oxford University, AstraZeneca, will be commercialized in 73 days. The government has given special manufacturing priority license to the Serum Institute. Indian citizens will be immunized under the National Immunization Program, NIP, for free. The government reportedly has placed a huge order with the Serum Institute. Germany has seen the highest spike in COVID-19 cases since April. German authorities have reimposed restrictions in many places in the country. The UAE state media has reported that the Gulf Cooperation Council, GCC, has welcomed the truce in Libya. And that is the end of the news snippets. This is the General Overseas Service of All India Radio. We now bring you a special film-based program from our archives.
The Indian theatre is at least 5,000 years old, and the earlier book on dramaturgy in India was called Natya Shastra. Reciting, singing, and dancing were the integral elements of the theatre. Urdu drama evolved from the prevailing traditions of North India, shaping Ras as practiced by exponents like Nawab Wajid Ali Shah of Awadh. His dramatic experiments led to the famous Indar Sabha of Ahmedabad, and later this tradition influenced the Parsi theatre, though it had already flourished in Bombay, Lucknow, and Delhi. You must be wondering why I am speaking of theatre and not about the film in this program yesterday once more. Before I come to the reason, let me introduce myself. I am Revati with a new film, Pukar, by Sohrab Modi, made in 1939. In the program yesterday once more. Wow, that is nearly 72 years ago. Well, Sohrab Modi was one of those directors, actor and producer all rolled into one, who started his career in the Parsi theatre. His brother started a theatre company called Arya Subodh Theatrical Company. When he started making films, his experience in theatre helped him to direct and produce film, and his theatrical dialogue delivery in chaste Urdu and Hindi in the films earned him name and fame. He became famous as he made use of his gift for grandiloquence and to evoke historical grandeur by setting up lavish sets or shooting the film in the palaces. He made films on social issues like alcoholism, the right to Hindu women to divorce, incest, etc., way ahead of his time. He also gave equal importance to songs, and this brought forth many great singers and beautiful songs. Some of his achievements in the making of good, sensible, thought provoking, and authentic films earned him the following credits. In 1960, he was a member of the jury in the 10th Berlin International Film Festival. He won India's highest award in film category, the Dada Saheb Phalke Award in 1980. His film Mirza Ghalib won the President's Gold Medal and the Best Feature Film of 1954. He was also responsible for using folk songs in his movies, as in this film Pukar 2, where the folk song of Uttar Pradesh has been based for the washerman scene. The film Pukar was set in the court of Mughal Emperor Jahangir and is based on a fictional incident that highlights Jahangir for sense of justice. Many of the key scenes were staged in the magnificent courts and palaces of the Mughals, which gave the film an authenticity that the studio-built sets would never achieve. The charisma of its stars, Chandra Mohan and Nazim Banu, and Kamal Amrohi's oration with its literary flourish and innate grace ensured the film's popularity. Though the film is in black and white, but still it brings out the splendor of the palaces, the nature and its beauty, thanks to the cinematographer Y.P. Sarpotdar. Wish it had been in color. Music by S. Fernandez and Nazir brings out the essence of the lyrics. The film was written by Kamal Amrohi and directed and produced by Sohrab Modi. Let us see the cast of this film before we go to the story. Sohrab Modi as Sangram Singh, Chandra Mohan as Shehenshah Jahangir, Nazim Banu as Mallika Noorjahan, Sheila as Kanwar, Sardar Akhtar as washerwoman, Sadiq Ali as Mangal Singh, Jillo, Maya Devi, Shakir, Ghulam Hussain. The singers are Khan Masthana, Sardar Akhtar, Menka, Sheila and Nazim Banu. The film starts with the ringing of Jahangir's bell of justice. People gather in front of the palace to see the emperor give justice to the aggrieved party. The Emperor Jahangir gives the death penalty to the man who has committed a murder, in spite of the family begging for mercy. For Jahangir, all are equal in the eyes of law, and his justice would be the same whether he was a king or a commoner. Thakur Uday Singh and Thakur Sangram Singh are enemies, but Uday Singh's daughter Kunwar is in love with Sangram Singh's son Mangal Singh. Kunwar's brother Ranjit comes to know of their love and his presence in his house to meet Kunwar. He comes home and chases Mangal. Seeing this, Kunwar tries to stop the confrontation between Mangal and Ranjit, but she is stopped by her father, Uday Singh. He instead follows Mangal and Ranjit, and he is wounded seriously, and his son dies in the fight that takes place. Mangal returns home and tells his mother about the incident and pleads that he is not guilty, as he did this to protect himself. His mother understands him and sends him away. Before her husband Sangram Singh came home, she knows that her husband would definitely hand Mangal over to the police, as he would definitely want the emperor to do the justice, and moreover, he was a truthful person. Sangram Singh gets upset when he comes to know of the incidents and gets angry with his wife for tarnishing his image and not allowing the law to do the work. In the meantime, seriously wounded Uday Singh reaches the palace and rings the bell of justice. But before the arrival of the emperor, he dies. Sangram Singh comes to the palace and explains to Jahangir the series of events and tells him that he will find his son and bring him before the emperor. Kuwar tells the emperor that she does not want to lodge a case against Mangal, who killed a father and brother. But for the safe custody of Kumar, Jahangir hands over her to Sangram Singh. He treats her like his own daughter, and she accepts the family as hers and finds a solace in their company. Meanwhile, Mangal takes refuge with his friend Haider. He sends a message to his mother of his safety and well-being through Haider's servant, who would be able to convey the news to Mangal's mother through a washerwoman. The news reaches Sangram Singh's house and everybody comes to know, including Sangram Singh. He proceeds to see his son. He meets him, but handcuffs him even when his friend Haider protests and takes his son and hands it over to the police. Kuwar prays for the welfare of Mangal and for the good judgment by the emperor. Mangal defends himself in front of Jahangir that he killed the two because he was instigated, though he had no intention of doing so. Jahangir does not agree to it, announces him guilty and that he would have to wait for the verdict. Sangram Singh meets the emperor as a father and pleads him to save his son and not pronounce him the verdict for death. Jahangir refuses and says that he would give the verdict after 2 days. The scene shifts to the washer people who are washing clothes in a river. They are discussing about the case of Mangal and Kuwar going to meet the queen for mercy. In the palace, Noor Jahan is with her servants who are entertaining her. Noor Jahan practices to shoot with her arrow, and while she is practicing, Kuwar enters and tells Noor Jahan to save Mangal from going to the gallows. She says that she would commit sati if he dies, as she has already thought Mangal to be her husband. Noor Jahan assures her that she will try to prevail on her husband. She sends her servant to seek an audience with Jahangir. Meanwhile, Noor Jahan continues her practice to shoot arrows. She tries shooting a flying bird, but the arrow hits a washerman and he dies. Noor Jahan is unaware of this tragedy. She has an audience with her husband and pleads him to free Mangal, but he refuses. It is at this time a servant comes to announce the tragedy of the death of the washerman. Kuwar comes to know of the tragedy when she is going back home. She tells Sangram Singh about it, and he and the washer people ring the bell of justice. Jahangir hears their pleas and tells the washerwoman that he would kill himself and his wife would become a widow like herself who has lost her husband. The washerwoman refuses the judgment and excuses the Emperor Jahangir, and in turn, Jahangir excuses Mangal. Sohrab Modi was a perfectionist in all counts. He ensured that each and every area was researched when it came to films made by him. He was content with his world of cinema and lived his passion every day and night. A small example would prove this point. In 1950, when Sohrab Modi's Sheesh Mahal was screened at the Minerva Theatre in Bombay, the actor was present at the hall. Mr. Modi noticed a man sitting in front row with closed eyes. Upset with such a reaction, he asked an attendant to let the viewer out and to return his money. The employer came back to say that the person was blind and had come just to hear Sohrab Modi's line. Such was the magnetism of the great actor, director, producer Sohrab Modi. Hope you enjoyed the program. I'm Revati signing off and we'll be back with a new film and a new director. Till then, bye and keep smiling.
You were listening to a special film-based program from our archives. This program came to you from the General Overseas Service of All India Radio.
A devastating epidemic can start in any country at any time and kill millions of people because we're not prepared, because we're still vulnerable.
epidemiologic investigations are underway, but yes, it's certainly possible that there's limited human-to-human transmission.
I'm declaring a public health emergency of international concern over the global outbreak of novel coronavirus. We have a window of opportunity. While the number of cases, more than 99%, are in China, in the rest of the world, we only have 176 cases. Let's use this window of opportunity to really invest in prevention, to invest in control, and prevent this virus from spreading. It's time to act. The detection of this small number of cases could be the spark that becomes a bigger fire. And if the world doesn't want to wake up and consider this enemy virus as public enemy number one, I don't think we will learn from our lessons.
We have over 400 scientists. There's been huge global interest in this topic and a real desire to collaborate and contribute.
Our window of opportunity is narrowing, and that's why we called the international community to act.
We've had enough countries now import disease. It is time to prepare. It is time to do everything you would do in preparing for a pandemic.
All countries can be looking for cases right now. All countries can be aggressively finding those first cases and following those contacts over time.
Shortages are leaving doctors, nurses, and other frontline health workers dangerously ill-equipped to care for COVID-19 patients. This is not a drill. This is not the time to give up. This is a time for pulling out all the stops. We're deeply concerned both by the alarming levels of spread and severity and by the alarming levels of inaction. We have therefore made the assessment that COVID-19 can be characterized as a pandemic. Not testing alone, not contact tracing alone, not quarantine alone, not social distancing alone, do it all. You cannot fight a fire blindfolded, and we cannot stop this pandemic if we don't know who is infected. We have a simple message for all countries: test, test, test.
We must get back to be able to control this virus, live with this virus, develop the vaccines that we need to finally eradicate this virus.
Please work across party lines, across ideology, across beliefs, across any differences for that matter. That's how we can defeat this virus.
We now present today's commentary on 2020 US presidential elections hotting up. Scripted by Professor Chintamani Mahapatra, Vice Chancellor and Rector of Jawaharlal Nehru University. The corona pandemic has affected the lives, social relationships, and most importantly, economic conditions of billions of people residing in more than 200 countries of the world. Significantly, it has also affected politics and political processes in democratic countries, where periodic elections are a crucial part of the system of governance. It is to underline that the most powerful, resilient, and the richest democracy in the world, the United States of America, has also been affected severely by this pandemic in many ways, including the disruption in the political processes. Every fourth year, Americans vote for a new president. Occasionally, they re elect an incumbent for another term of 4 years. The big question today is whether the US presidential election will be held smoothly and whether the incumbent president, Donald Trump, would be re elected. The political processes in the run up to the presidential election on 3rd November 2020 are anything but smooth. The COVID 19 related lockdown, subsequent unlockdowns, persistent fears of infection in the populace, difficulty in holding rallies, and mass meetings have all affected the holding of primary elections and caucus meetings of the American political parties that are essential part of nominating a candidate for the presidency. The national conventions of the Democratic Party and the Republican Party to finally select a nominee are huge pomp and show ceremonies. While the Republican Party has little to lose, as President Donald Trump will obviously be the candidate, yet the ceremony gives an occasion to make campaign speeches watched by millions of American voters as well as people around the world. The Democratic National Convention to formalize the presidential nomination of Joe Biden, the former vice president, has just got over. It was held in a virtual setting. Thousands of delegates would have assembled in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, but missed the event that takes place once in 4 years. Senator Joe Biden was nominated as the party's candidate for presidency and Senator Kamala Harris as the party's vice presidential nominee. The US is the worst affected country in the world due to COVID 19. The handling of the pandemic by the government, followed by polarization of the American society, has offended many American citizens. Importantly, unemployment rate in the country is very high and America's economic growth rate has turned negative. The health infrastructure of the country was found to be inadequate during the coronavirus crisis. It also showed the administration in poor light when expert advice on fighting the virus was diminished by senior government functionaries. Racism has spread to every nook and corner of the country. This has added to the current US administration's worries. The immigration policy, environmental concerns, handling of the economy, and the pandemic have all come under intense scrutiny by the American opposition. Senator Joe Biden is currently leading in the opinion polls by 4 percentage points. Every fourth year of the time of the presidential elections in the US, Indians debate about who would be a better president for India. This is natural, but a close scrutiny of India's relations with Democratic and Republican administrations reveal there are no ideological rigidities in the positions of the two main US political parties as far as India is concerned. Senator Kamala Harris has become the first Indian origin person ever to be nominated as the running mate of the presidential candidate. This naturally has generated a lot of interest in India in the forthcoming US presidential elections. There has been a steady rise in bipartisan support in the United States for the country's policy of maintaining a robust strategic partnership with India. If a change of guard does happen in January 2021 with the White House, it would not materially change the fundamental contours of Indo-US relations. In the current electoral debate in the US, Donald Trump and Joe Biden are both trying to project themselves to be tougher on China than the other. Both candidates have repeatedly mentioned how they would further advance America's cooperation with a vibrant India to maintain peace and stability in the Indo-Pacific region.
This broadcast came to you from the digital channel of the General Overseas Service of All India Radio.